to the farmers, the extension service teams that you have talked about were supposed to come from NADS. And there was some kind of aspect that let's commercialize it so that people get commercialized, they look forward to a service they are ready to pay for. Because the thinking was, if it is free, people may not demand it. And these are some of the conceptualization at academic level, sometimes just by practitioners who may not be really academicians, but the educated people, because not every educated people is an academician. You graduate with your degree, you go to work in an organization, you go to work in government. You have left the academia part. Academia part remains analytical. You go beyond the knowledge.
That's right.
Now, for anybody to come and say people are not demanding the services because they are free, let's force them to pay so that it will cost them, then they will begin to desire them. That was the initial thinking of NADS. Let's commercialize it, people contribute, and government will pay. Now, before we knew it, NADS had moved away from advisory services. But also remember, as we said, advisory extension staff are supposed to be district employees. They belong to the local government. But NADS was a national program. So when it went into the local government, it went with its own coordinator, who was not reporting to the COW, is not reporting to any of the district structures.
The NADS coordinator?
The NADS coordinator.
The NADS coordinator at the district, there was a district NADS coordinator.
Yes.
And at a sub-county, there was a sub-county NADS coordinator. And then finally, by the way, it was a bit fairer, just for purpose of reflecting on what used to happen.
Yes.
The NADS coordinator was expected to be giving a report which is copied to the COW and also to the secretariat.
Yes, but the main employer is the secretariat.
Yes, sir.
So when I come to report, the COW cannot fire me. You are only privy to my knowledge that I have decided to give you. But sometimes people perform knowing you are the one who signed my contract. I'm a staff of the district system. If I don't deliver, I'm in problems. Now you have left it to their goodness and wellness and willingness to really offer that service. You would want them finally to be either a joint employee of that district to really kind of give the district, they will say, the decentralization of the power.
Do you think in terms of decentralized financial decentralization to the program of NADS, do you think that it was rightly done by the president in 2014 to suspend that kind of funding directed to the district so that it is being held by the center now, which finally was located under the operation to create another unit to manage those funds?
Because actually what was happening even then, there would be a NADS budget.
Yes, I remember our district, our sub-county could get 100 million.
Yes, but that allocation would come from the center to allocate to every district.
To the district, yes.
Yes, but remember when you're talking about like education and health, every district has its own budget, which is amalgamated into the Ministry of Education budget by the number of children they have, the number of schools they have. That reflects in the district budget. But the NADS would be added there. You, as a COW, you cannot say, can't you give me more than 150? No, the headquarter has apportioned. And there was also a budget kept by the headquarter to allocate directly to people inside the district. So you don't know, whom's are there because you know somebody at the center comes with 3 billion to invest in the district. The whole district was given 100. But an individual...
A sub-county 100 million, but now the good promise, which anyone could be interested in, is that with the parish development model, at a parish level, 100 million. And I remember with the NADS program, at the climax of it, 2014, each sub-county was being allocated 100 million. Now, with the kind of funding, which a bit seems to have increased to that 1 trillion, do you expect that we are going to come out from the current challenge of not achieving what we had targeted to achieve during the NADS program? Because there are many challenges which hindered us. And it's still uncertain to realize or to believe, many people who've been giving commentaries, whether we are going to achieve better results than what we failed to achieve the other time.
It's true, we actually have more risks because we have reverted back to a market-based approach. As I said, NADS people are supposed to demand which services they need for which crops. Then the NADS would provide the service and pay the service provider. Now, the NADS, when it was transformed from extension service, and these are the shifts you referred to, NADS stops being an extension service provider to an input provider, which was not its space. But they found which institution is on the ground. Can we give it this responsibility? So it took over that. And where it had adjusted itself and blended in, now it had a task of looking for who has the seed, how do we procure, how do we deliver. They became a logistics manager, like National Drugs Authority, and I mean the National Medical Stores, delivering these inputs. Now we are saying, let's give the people, remove the money from NADS, because sometimes NADS will deliver either late or what people don't want. Give the people their money. Let them decide.
You give the people their money.
Yes, under PDM.
You don't give them the seedling.
You don't give them the seedling.
Operation Creation Wealth, it was concentrating on wealth creation. It was concentrating on giving the.
It was not
the
even
farmers.
the one that was giving the farmer. Operation Wealth Creation was working jointly with NADS. NADS was never removed. The technical arm, the procurement of planting materials, all of it remained with NADS. Operation Wealth Creation was simply monitoring to make sure the seed has been delivered that was promised, and they would sign on the form at the local level to make sure this has been delivered. So they never took over NADS. They never took over the responsibility of NADS, because there was that outcry. How technical are they to know the quality of seed and the type of seed?
But the kind of change, Doctor, which we would like for the viewers to, as they follow us up, because many programs are going to be introduced from time to time, but it's important to know, as these economic programs, socio-economic programs, which are intended to uplift the standards of the people, of Ugandans, whether if one fails, whether to bring another one is the ultimate solution.
Exactly.
So what I'd like to reflect or to bring the attention to you and to the guests, to the viewers, is that by the time NADS program was in action, was being implemented, we tended to have skilled professional persons, technical persons, who were the NADS coordinators.
The NADS coordinators.
But now the difference, which I would like you to maybe also give us your assessment, they were replaced by the deployed, some who are veteran soldiers, UPDF, and others who are...
The word is not replacement.
Because
they were partnered with.
But now the issue is, there was completely the end of contract of NADS coordinators. We were sent back home.
Yes. But there was a partnership. Now what happened is a lot of work, recentralization again. Because instead of having a NADS coordinator in Arua, now the NADS headquarters would identify who would provide planting materials to West Nile. So the NADS coordinator was no longer there, but still the responsibility of identifying who should take cassava stems to West Nile remained with NADS, the technical arm. Now that also brought problems. Because remember, that switch came because NADS were no longer in extension service. The core of the NADS coordinator within Arua was to coordinate extension services within that locality. Now the moment that shifted to supply of inputs, the role of the of the district coordinator was muted. It shrunk. Because it's not in every district you would have an input provider. The input providers are at national level, majority of them. Now that brought problems. You are moving cassava stems from Bukalasa in Luwero and taking them to Soroti. Soroti is a drought area. You're taking them to Arua, which is a wet area. Now, if this cassava grew up in Bundibujo, it is not acclimatized to that socio-ecological and agroecological condition. Now, those are challenges that came with these changes. And as I'm saying, they were not well analyzed to say what impact are they going to bring to the intent, original intent, of transforming agriculture and modernizing agriculture. So we began to lose of that intent by playing around with institutions and the frameworks. That agriculture could no longer be modernized because of the loss of focus of, first of all, the person on the ground. You nationalize it. You are now moving diseases, because in the original days, planting materials could not just move from one region of the country to another. You can easily switch diseases.
There is a such challenge that we are facing, and your analysis would like to bring to the attention of the viewers, maybe also policymakers. These programs, from time to time, there's no one who has ever said that this is nonsense, this is not necessary. There's no one. But the concern of divergent views from different stakeholders is that we tend to be having a fall to move forward and again fall back.
Yes.
We remain like as if like we are a boat within a lake, a lake or sea, moving and then the storm hits you, you go back and it's almost like fall, then maybe you manage the crisis. It seems to be that kind of scenario.
Even stagnant or moving sideways.
And that's why we are dealing with the economic transformation, dear viewers. Because Uganda, where we are, it's my appeal of you, I bring it to your attention, that it should now are supposed to be automatic. We are supporting much more food products. You began by saying that, and what we have, because if we were importing, by the way, our surprise and the surprise of the viewers, the economy of this country, the GDP, is yet we are an agrarian economy. That's why we come back to our point, sir, and I bring that context to you to analyze why not doing well, both for this food, the context of progressive food security, meaning abundance, and which again shifts us, and it is our delivery of much more of export trade, where we are supposed to be exporting rice to the region now, East African sub-region, where we are supposed to be exporting maybe good maize, maybe to Asian countries and all over. And we are doing very well, which is possible. What should be done in order to achieve this dream?
I think, like you've put it rightly, focus. I mean, a ship can be blown by the storms, but never lose the sense of direction. To say, I am going to Australia. So even if this tide is swinging me off course, I will finally get back. Now, we seem to lose sight of the goal. If the goal was modernization of agriculture, how are we supposed to achieve it? If you have put NADS, because extension service is critical. So when we pulled out NADS from extension service provision, what replaced it? It took until, I think, 2015-16 for government to come up with a single spine policy. But even single spine policy, you still struggle to say, has it been implemented?
You know, that you've gone into now deep economics. What does that mean?
This is agriculture. It's a planning of saying extension staff should all be streamlined. Let's streamline it at national level. But remember, these staff are supposed to be within the local governments themselves. Now, you get to the local government, you'll find out of 50 or 60 that they need, they have a quota. And our farmers, the ones who want to modernize and to transform and to commercialize, stopped in primary 3, stopped in primary 7. They will not be able to distinguish between a cricket and a real pest for the crop. They may not be able to distinguish, and it has also happened to me. We went to visit a good farm in Mbale. It was for the Islamic University. And we were all celebrating the elephant grass they had planted for the animals from our perspective. Good enough, we had Professor Eli Sabiti on our team, who is an agricultural professor. So he was still looking at something else. When he came in, he said, oh, look at this problem here. This yellowness is not good for this grass. This elephant grass is supposed to be green. So this one is suffering from this, is suffering from this, is suffering from this. And then he looked down. What we thought was, as the rain falls, it's splattering some soil on the stem. He said, no, this is a disease. There is fungal infection. Now, a farmer will just do his thing. They need that technical extra support and within the communities to advise them. If you are going to modernize, if you are going to transform, if you are going to commercialize. Remember, commercialization should not be, oh, I sold 20 bags this season, and then this season you are selling 7. That's not commercialization. You're touring and coming out. You're not a tourist in the commercialization space. So how do we plan as government to make sure all the 4 quadrants are covered? Is are proper, extension service is proper, the uptake is proper. Because the farmers produce and they can't sell. So they won't get enough money to plant the next season. Then they will hate the whole thing called commercialization. Because now they have a problem, they have debts, they have not paid them. So you want to really put the throttle, the thrust, and sustain it.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And Dr. Muhumuza, we look during the third session, we'll be looking at what has caused, a demotivation to our farmers.
Yes.
For driving business.